Hello, everybody. Welcome to Elemental Movement and Food. And today we're going to work on our breath and how our breathing, I'm just taking off my shoes, how our breathing, what we want to do is learn how to improve the capacity of our breathing. So let's explore, first of all, what is breathing? And breathing is basically taking in the molecules of the air through either our nose or our mouth. It's the only way to bring in the air. We bring it in and then we exchange in our lungs, we exchange the air for molecules. The oxygen in the lower half of our lungs will be exchanged out with the help of CO2. CO2 will allow the oxygen to go into the hemoglobin, which then the oxygen goes into every single cell. So why is it so important? If we're not breathing the maximum amount of transfer of oxygen, any tissue in our body, any cell in our body will not be getting the correct molecules to be able to form and reform and reshape correctly. I think breathing is subconscious. It just happens automatically, but it doesn't mean it happens to the best of our ability. So I'm just trying to arrange myself here so you can see more of my anatomy moving. All right, so what we really want to do here is improve our capacity. So that's a number. We have some C's in the elemental movement and food. I use C's as some principles that will follow throughout either the food that we're making or the movement. In this particular case, we're going to work on two, and one is the capacity. So we know that we cannot create molecules, and we cannot create this energy, nor can we destroy it. We can only transfer better, or we can have some blockages. So we're going to explore our muscular anatomy and what helps us to breathe. So one of the principles I'd like to talk about is posture. We want our posture not to be stiff and stuck. Often we're told, throw your shoulders back, sit up tall, and the pelvis is often tilted or tucked. And once we explore our muscular anatomy, what I'd like you to do, instead of intellectualizing this process, I'd like you to experience it. And when we experience it, we'll have knowledge. And once we can sense and experience, the knowledge will now tell us how to alter our posture when we're doing any movement, whether it's activities of daily living or whether it's exercise. So my feet are touching the ground here, but you could put yoga blocks under your feet or a stool if you want to come up a little bit higher. I want to recognize the muscular anatomy. So there's two parts of the muscles that breathe. And if we breathe correctly, these are the muscles we use. If we are in the incorrect position or posture, then we may use other muscles that are called muscles of accessory respiration. They're not meant to actually help us breathe. They help us breathe temporarily because we're in the wrong posture. So if everything is right, one position I'd really like you to feel, the air comes in either your mouth or your nose. If it comes through the nose, we're going to moisten the air. We're going to change the velocity of how quick the air comes in. It will sort of centrifuge down. We will clean the air. So there's the nostril hairs and the connective tissue that will clean it as it goes down. There's also chemicals that come into our respiration. There's a mechanical side, the muscular side, and then there is a chemical side that allows for the breath to take place. In this particular case, the nitric oxide will dilate and allow for better transfer. Anyway, that's getting complicated. What I'd really like, well, it's not complicated, it's just probably you don't want to hear it. You want to breathe. So let me talk about the larynx. So once we bring the air in either through our nose or our mouth, we have the larynx, which is cartilage, and it's firm. It should be firm. Often, this is where we're out of posture. We could be jutting forward. We could have that forward neck posture. We often have a rotation in this larynx, which should draw the air down to our lungs. We often will be using those muscles in the wrong way to sort of breathe inversely, and I'll explain that a little bit more. If I could get you, when we start to sense our breath, if I could get you to feel this larynx and imagine it to be heavy, but it moves. So it's like a heavy pole, and I don't have to have it sit here. It's uncomfortable in this position. I don't have to use muscles to pull it back. I just take that heavy pole and I let it sit. I let it rest on my shoulders. So imagine right at the base of the neck, a circle, and I want it to be in the center, and it can move. It can move around. It just doesn't hold the incorrect posture. The cartilage is so heavy, I want to feel it be suspended by the cranium and the neck muscles above, and I want it to be hammocked in my neck, in the circle of my neck. All right, so that's just the posture where we want to find the positioning of this particular bone so that we don't have to fight for the air to come down. Once you sense that, let's explore the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is below the lungs. It's a dome-shaped muscle that is below the lungs, inside the ribs, and then it works like a plunger. I'll talk about the attachments in a second and how it works, but it is a muscle that draws down with the pelvic floor. It'll draw down and it will put intra-abdominal pressure, and then on the inhale it descends, on the exhale it ascends, and that creates the most perfect internal massage. And imagine how many times you take this perfect breath, you're massaging absolutely everything. You have an opportunity. It's the most frequent way we can massage our internal organs, our nerves, our ligaments, our tendons, our muscles, and I'll explain that a little more. So that's our muscle, the diaphragm, that will plunge down into the abdominal cavity, and then it comes back up, it recoils back to its original shape. The lungs do not expand themselves. So we don't have any muscle that allows us to breathe except these two correctly. So our rib cage needs to expand to make space for the lungs, the sacs in the lungs, to take in more air. And at the top half of the lungs, we exchange the air. The middle half is where we can really improve the capacity. The lower half is where we arterialize. The air will now go into the blood and circulate. So our lung capacity will be increased if our intercostals, so those are the muscles between the ribs, if they allow for an expansion of the ribs. Now, if I've told you, roll your shoulders back, sit up tall, the ribs are out of place. They are holding the bones in place, and the muscles that are supposed to be moved by the bone, they are busy holding our posture, and they're not postural muscles. So we want to let everything hang. And I also, if you imagine that dome-shaped muscle underneath my lungs and above the liver, stomach, I want to allow it to drop down. And if I'm pulling myself back, my dome-shaped muscle is facing the wrong way. I want gravity to allow it to descend without a lot of effort. We also have often a rotation, and I would like to explore that, but I want to explore it when we're doing more movement-based exercises. And that just happens with our anatomy. On our right side of our body, this is my right side, I think it might be your left. The right side of the body is the liver, and the lungs have 3 lobes, and on the left side we have less, and we have less anatomy to push in and out of. So we tend to rotate away from that. So I'll explore that when we move. So again, we can breathe more effectively to improve the capacity and the transfer of oxygen to our cells. All right, so our ribs, we have the dome-shaped muscle, the diaphragm that drops down, comes back up. We have the ribs that should expand. They don't lift, they expand. They almost expand outwardly and downward. So out and then down a bit so that the dome has shape to move. All right. So what I'd like you to do in this case is feel the muscles working. And we don't want to seek the perfect position that allows, what we want to do is, we're not looking for perfect posture. We're looking for the best position that allows the maximum amount of life to go through, movement. You want to feel movement. In some disciplines, we'll call it prana, some chi, ki, life force. You want to feel that flow. All right. So I have my feet rooted into the ground, and that's so that my head and the larynx will stack above my heavy rib cage. I don't hold my rib cage up. I want it to be suspended by the neck muscles and hammocked by what we call the core muscles. I want them to hold the heavy bone. I don't want to have my rib cage in this position. If I'm twisted or torqued, these muscles are holding it up while these are being compressed. I want to feel that optimal position where I can feel the maximum amount of movement. My rib cage is over my pelvis. Now this gets tricky. These big gigantic bones are often, the force is pushing me back, which then tells me to take my pelvis and either tilt it or tuck it. I want it to suspend. Then I want to feel my support system. I have my feet on the ground. I can feel the ground hammock me. I can feel these muscles come out of the hip socket. They're going forward, and my pelvis now is moved into a perfect position for breathing. I want to feel and sense my larynx just suspended. I'm going to breathe in air through either my nose or my mouth, ideally nose, but no pressure right now, just whatever is most comfortable for you. Breathe it in, feel your rib cage expand, and as the diaphragm descends, you should feel there's going to be more pressure build up because of fluid hydraulics. I'm taking up space with the diaphragm dropping down. The pelvic floor will move slightly down and make more space, but volume should fill up in my belly, in my waist, and my back. I want to feel that. So expansion of the ribs, and the belly will swell, the hips will swell, the low back will swell so that the diaphragm drops down. Let's try that. And inhale. And then on an exhale, again through your nose or mouth, feel the ascent. Let's try to take 5 breaths, and I don't want to talk. I want you to maybe close your eyes and feel. Don't put pressure on yourself. If you feel you're not in the correct position to access this diaphragm dropping or the rib cage expanding, twist around and move around until you feel you're in your optimal position to feel that expansion. Ribs expand, belly, low back, and hips expand, and then exhale. Now your belly will come back to, or recoil, it'll come back to its natural position. It does not suck in. We don't suck in. We're feeling the muscles expand and, well, the diaphragm drop down, so we feel everything expand, and then we feel the recoil because the diaphragm is lifting back up. So is the pelvic diaphragm. It's lifting back up to its neutral position. It's a little harder to feel because we have a culture of thinking we need to grip, tighten, lock, and usually our bones, our rib cage and our pelvis are out of alignment. They're sometimes twisted, they're torqued, and they're holding this position. This is an opportunity to just give in to this beautiful posture that is being surrendered and hammocked by your base of support. And now the diaphragm moves and massages everything. You keep breathing, and you could close your eyes to do this just to feel it. Now, there's no right or wrong. We want to improve our capacity. Are you going to be perfect right now? Some of these sensations might be new to you. That's okay. Are you better? Do you feel like you've improved your capacity before you started this movement? Get rid of the rules. Get rid of all those things you think you're supposed to experience, and just experience them. Now, around I want to give you the connections of how your breath is interconnected to the entire body. Besides the oxygen going out to all the working cells, we have a nerve called the phrenic nerve, and it's not the most important nerve. So I don't ever want you to think that there's a muscle that's most important, a nerve that's more important than others. It is just the connector, and it starts at the back of the neck. And if my larynx is in the wrong position, this phrenic nerve connects to the diaphragm. And when it connects to my pericardium, actually. The pericardium is a wrapping around the heart. The wrapping around the heart connects to the diaphragm. So we have this big, long, beautiful stocking of everything connected. When I breathe, the weight of my bones tell the phrenic nerve and other nerves, it senses where my position is, and it allows for an easy flow. Otherwise, if I'm in the wrong position, those nerves will recruit those accessory muscles of respiration. So I have this nerve that will go through my cervical spine, and it connects through the central nervous system. And of course, if I'm out of alignment skeletally, then it has to work differently. Now it's connecting to my heart. My lungs, the sacs are opening and closing, and they slide along the connective tissue. They are also the diaphragm is on top of my liver, my stomach, and as it descends and ascends, I'm getting fluid rhythmic movement going up and down and allowing everything to move. Now imagine some of our exercise, we're out of alignment, we're gripping, we're sucking things in, we're squeezing, we're holding our breath, and we're making funny faces. So we don't allow the oxygen to go to the working tissue. So staying still is the best way. All right, here we go. Let's try again. We'll breathe and see if you can now feel the rhythmic movement in the gut. As we have that inter-abdominal pressure, When we press down, we're also pressing down and putting abdominal pressure, diaphragmatic pressure down onto the reproductive organs as well. As we recoil, we get a beautiful massage and hydration in that particular area. And remember, the pelvic floor is not lifting, gripping, or tightening. There's movement. There's a flow and a movement with the diaphragm. It's hard to feel that, but when you do, you'll love it. Now, do you feel more air coming down the right nostril or the right side, more on the left? Move your body around to open up wherever you're feeling. Do you feel a tightness in the pelvis? Are you putting more pressure on your right foot than your left foot? Is the right hip stuck on one side? Are you able to move around to open up and make space for better movement? We're also influencing our lymph, the venous flow, the microbiome, our nervous system. Most of you know about the nervous system because if you've done any type of mind-body work, we often use the breath to calm the nervous system so that you're in rest and recovery and building mode rather than fight or flight, fighting for this necessary breath. So I did give you a lot of anatomy and I did give you a lot of information. So I guess we would call that knowledge, and it is informing us. But what I'd like you to do is experience this, and that will transform us. And when I say transform us, what I want you to do is in the different positions you are in space, we will start to do some movement laying on our back, and our diaphragm is now working with different forces and a different gravitational force, different recoil, ground force reaction. When we're standing, it's a different position. Explore those positions. And I'd like to introduce the other C that I'd like you to think about this as communication. This is a conversation with your entire body, starting with the breath. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope this was informative. Please leave some comments if you would like to let me know how you're doing, and that will inform me on how to give you different content. Thanks. Enjoy your day. Happy breathing.